Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. So, as you can see, the cloth seems to have trained rather nicely to the hull. I'm really pleased with how it's come out. Very few wrinkles that I think that once I put the epoxy on will somewhat even out. But I mean, for the most part, she's really hugging to the lines very nicely, and I am just very satisfied. So, I came out here this morning, and it was a tad chilly because we got down to 39 last night. But now we should be around 60 degrees in here, which is an ample plenty for applying epoxy, because it's only going to get warmer as the day goes on. So that's good, because once again, as I've kind of beat this horse, the epoxy that I'm using requires 55 degrees for 2 hours to set up. So that's kind of imperative, but it looks like we have it now. A quick fire in the stove and all my heaters on, I guess ensured that. So I went ahead and began setting up the stations, if you will, for spreading the epoxy this morning. So what I'm gonna do is take you over to my epoxy station, and I'm gonna show you what I got going on. All right. Here's my hardener with the pump. Now, if you've remembered before, it's a 3-to-1 system, which means I would typically have 3 pumps of this, the resin, to 1 pump of this, the hardener. Now, that's not going to work because it simply is not going to give me the quantity I need to get this done in any kind of time. So, what I've done is I've stepped up to these big buckets. And as you can see, I've written, since they're marked with units of measure, I went ahead and wrote on them the 3-to-1 system. So that's, you know, what, 500 milliliters? And that's the hardener level, which will translate over here to the resin level being 1.5 liters, or 1.5 or 1,500 liters. So that's where we're at. I'm sorry, not 1,500 liters, 1.5 liters. Anyway, but that's where we're at. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, with that done, once these two are measured off, I'm going to put it into one of my handy dandy and always useful used Folgers cans, because well, it's just good coffee. Anyway, so I would put the 2 bits of liquid in here and mix them in here. I'm not going to mix them in their little cups, because that means it's one shot. I get one time to do that, and that's it. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to mix it in my Folger can. Bring it over here after my liquids have been poured, and I'm going to take my spatulas that I have set up here, and I'm going to mix it in real good. Once again, key mixing is key when you're working with epoxy. You have to ensure that the resin and the hardener mix well and thoroughly, because if they don't, well, the product doesn't work as advertised, and I really want it to work as advertised. So that's what's going to happen with this. And then after I'm done, once this is mixed, I'm going to use somewhat of a combination. I haven't decided how I'm going to exactly apply it to the cloth. One idea, and the way that the designer, Mark Van Abema, suggests, is using a roller brush, a high-density foam roller, to spread the epoxy around. I'm sure he wouldn't have recommended this if it didn't work. But every video I've ever seen has guys doing this and wetting out the cloth with spatulas, which is what those are right there. And they just kind of drag it around the hull to make sure that they fill the weave. I don't know what's going to work better. I have both available to me, so I'm not limited, which is good. But that's kind of where we're at right now. So once again, now that the temperature's right, I've got everything kind of staged and ready to go. I'm going to get my gloves on, and I'm going to get to work mixing some epoxy and filling this weave. So I will catch you guys back up later after I've done at least enough to know that it'll either A, work as planned, or B, it is a horrible, horrible disaster. So I'll catch you then. Well, hey everyone, good evening. So you can now see, at least a little bit, I hope, that I wetted out the cloth. Well, at least a lot of the cloth is wetted out. So there she is. Man, you want to talk about eating epoxy. That thing just... I was always mixing, it seemed. Although I can't say it was all that bad. I did have to change it up a bit. The two bottles that the two buckets that I had, the big ones, were made way too much epoxy for this container. So I had to bring it down to these two. And it worked out rather well. So same principle, of course, 3 to 1. And I used for the most part, I used the spatula. It seemed to be the easiest way to go, and the foam roller just didn't seem to pan out. Maybe I was doing it wrong. I don't know, but it worked better for me. But yep, this entire side is as planned, sheeted with the Zinol polyester and coated in epoxy. So yeah, I left some tape in the middle there. I'm not too terribly worried about that. I got about to this side about, I want to say about a quarter of the way back, maybe a little over, maybe about 30% of the way back. And I had to stop because I checked the weather while I was doing it, and it's going to get cold, so I wanted to give it at least the 2 hours that I knew it was going to be over 55 for this stuff to dry, and I'll just pick up where I left off tomorrow. Once again, I'm really not anticipating any issues with that. But yeah, so that's what we got. I can also speak to the difficulty of getting that bow the way I wanted it. It was man, it was a bear. I'm not gonna lie, that was tough. So because it kept wanting to fall down on this side here, but it worked out, I think, rather well. I'm pleased with it, but then again, I guess I'm easy to please at this point. So that's where we stand. So that's sheeting the hull part 1, and tomorrow we'll begin sheeting the hull part 2, and hopefully I'll be able to finish up the other side and get to the middle, where I can put the cloth over the keel and the skeg. Hopefully that'll pan out. But yeah, it was slow going today. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty slow going. But that's where we're at, and I will catch you up when I have more to catch you up on.